We realized that a lot of failures in the farming space is because people are doing things they don't understand. People go into chicken farming because the next door neighbor is succeeding in it, so they think I will also succeed. People go into Boer goat farming because someone on the internet is saying Boer goat farming is profitable, so they put their money in there and they lose it because they don't know what they're doing. Even some have tried the traditional cattle farming and failed in it because they didn't take time to learn what is involved, what it entails to do that operation. So we then said, in our business model, let's include a learning phase where the new rabbit farmer will be oriented and taught how to actually run a successful and commercial rabbit farm professionally. Yeah, there was this perception in the market that rabbit had no market and people don't like rabbit.
Exactly.
I didn't believe it, first of all, because rabbit meat is nice.
Yeah, it
It's very tasty and it's very clean. They have no contact with dirt in a way. They own, so it's clean meat, and I didn't believe it when they said rabbit has got no market. So I went out of my way to do a lot of research and try and find out if that was true, that rabbit has no market. And setting up a restaurant was just another way of proving, or rather a proof of concept, that rabbit has market. And it is a very popular dish here in its various forms, but we can discuss that later.
Is it lucrative?
Yeah, very lucrative. I mean, look at me, I'm glowing. And I do nothing else except rabbit farming. So, yeah, anything that I do is related to rabbit. Once I started doing rabbit, I never turned back, and I've just been opening different folders within that rabbit farming space, including the restaurant business, where we are actually sitting in a restaurant now, which is based on rabbit as the main offering. This same time last year, we only had about 500 farmers. Now we've got over 1,500 farmers across the country, which just goes to show the lucrativeness of rabbit farming, as well as the interest that people have in farming rabbit. I don't think all these people would be joining rabbit farming if they were making losses.
That's the thing. That's the question that I'm asking myself. Why is it people are running to rabbit farming now? Is it the fact that rabbit meat is healthy?
I think for me to answer you properly, I need to just give you a bit of background on how we have developed as a business into this rabbit farming industry. I think arguably we are probably the leading rabbit, all things rabbit company in the country today, probably beyond as well. But just to give you a bit of perspective, when we started, we were doing poultry farming, where we were doing chicken farming.
Okay.
We started off doing what I like to call urban farming, urban chicken farming. That's what I would call it. And our approach was not to just do chicken farming as a little project or a backyard project, but we did it as a proper business setup. And we were supplying chickens into households using 3 different locations that we had here in Harare, where we had my chicken runs on 3 different properties. And we were always growing chickens on rotation. So at any given time, we would have a batch of chickens coming out between 1,000 and 2,000, But each place was capable of doing, because we had similar structures, like the one behind us here. That used to be a chicken run, which could accommodate 3,000 birds at any given time. And we had similar structures on 2 other properties. So we would then rotationally have these products coming out at every turn, and people would contact us, restaurants would contact us, and would supply in church groups, community, and so forth. We were well known for being chicken farmers, and we're doing it properly as a business. But what made us then switch to rabbit was that some time back in during that COVID period, just before the COVID period. We had big players in the chicken farming space that put a lot of product on the market at very low prices, and a lot of chicken farmers were caught unaware because they had stock which had been hedged for the Christmas and the festive season.
Exactly.
Yeah, people wanted to supply and use that money from those sales to pay school fees for January and to avoid January disease, as it were. But we were all caught flat-footed with product because the main players put a lot of product in supermarkets as well as in informal sales systems, where people would just go and order chickens at a giveaway and then sell them in shopping centers from the boot of cars at very low prices. So our traditional customers would turn around and say, look, right, I want to buy your chickens. They're nice, but my wife found them in the supermarket at a much cheaper price. So to me, it was a rude awakening. It made me realize that I cannot put the security of my family's welfare in the hands of chicken farming, because they are big established players in that industry that can pull the rug from under your feet at any given time, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. So I didn't want to continue doing chicken farming at that level. I therefore started focusing more on rabbit farming, which I was doing as a hobby back then. Because a brother had gifted me a few rabbits, but I had quickly noticed that they were breeding at an alarming rate. So I then said, you know what? If we can sell chickens, why can't we sell rabbit meat? Also, I started researching and running comparatives between rabbit meat versus chicken meat, rabbit meat versus pork, rabbit meat versus beef. I was doing the comparisons on how to farm them, which is more profitable, which brings in more income, which is tastier, which is more nutritious. I was looking at nutritional values and so forth. So I learned a lot in a very short space of time through researching on YouTube, researching on the internet, and also talking to family. Yeah, it does. I now call it the University of YouTube. It's the best university out there, no doubt. And now we've got the AI. We are now in the AI age, meaning that information is now even more easily accessible. I see a future where some universities are going to close doors. But let's not talk about that here. But look, I did a lot of research, and I found that in other economies, rabbit meat is actually a robust industry. For instance, in China is the biggest producer of rabbit meat, and they are also the biggest consumer of rabbit meat. Here in Africa, I discovered that Egypt is the biggest producer. And rabbit meat farming, if I remember correctly, accounts for between 8 to 10% of their GDP. Rabbit farming. And Egypt is a $140 billion economy. So you can look at those numbers. They speak for themselves. So in my mind, I said, look, if rabbit meat is that popular elsewhere, then it is a matter of information and time before rabbit meat becomes popular in Zimbabwe as well.
So do you think that is the high time that farmers start taking advantage of social media, either to learn or to advertise?
I do believe that farmers are already awake to that fact. I do believe a lot of farmers are doing that because I see them. Our business is very active on social media, so, and as I go through those streets, I have seen a lot of other farmers that are present in those forums. So, yeah.
So, what makes one a great farmer in general, not just rabbit farming? What are the qualities that can make one a great farmer from your own perspective?
Yeah, in my opinion, consistency is very important. I am a firm believer in choosing one path and then striving to become the best at it.
Wow.
When I went into rabbit farming,
Yeah.
I made a decision which saw me downscaling on the chicken side until it was obsolete. Now the chickens that we sell in this restaurant and prepare are farmed by other farmers. We don't farm chickens anymore. But what we do is we are doing all things rabbit, and that is what we are focused on. And so it does demonstrate my belief that, choose one thing and become the best at it. I believe we are now the leading farmers. If you really take into account the outgrower network that we've developed across the country, where we have supported farmers through provision of international standard cages, rabbit cages and equipment, where we have supplied premium breeding stock.
I met someone.
Yeah.
I interviewed someone, in fact. You supplied the cages and everything they learned from you.
Yeah, you see, there you go. Yeah.
It was amazing to see something like that and say, I'm now doing this because of that person.
The white meat company, yes.
It's amazing.
So it's amazing, and the testimonies are pouring in every single day. And quite honestly, Kelvin, this is what warms my heart, and this is what keeps me going.
Wow.
Zimbabwe is a wild place, and you have to find your place in it.
Yes.
I believe that I found mine in rabbit farming. So we've set up so many farmers into rabbit farming, and they are making money doing that. And my vision now goes beyond my personal need to farm rabbit, but I believe that the country should become a premium rabbit farming nation.
Yeah.
I believe that this is possible, and we should do this before other countries see the opportunity and take advantage of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, do you think that the market is flooded when it comes to chicken farming? From your own perspective, or any type of farming, do you think that it's okay for one to say, I'm not doing this type of farming, the market is flooded?
I wouldn't go as far as saying that the market is flooded, because we still have an opportunity to export chickens, even beyond local supply. I mean, look at the big names. I don't want to say them by name, but we all know them. They do have an export quota. They do supply, and you still have all these grannies and young people who are farming chickens in households and still finding market for it. I think what is paramount and key is what I mentioned earlier, is to be consistent, so that you are known for something. If you are going to be known as Pamba Panorima Huku at that level, then stick to that. If that is your passion, and you're doing it, or more importantly, if that is your passion, then do it. Your passion, then do it, but do it professionally. Do it consistently. Do it with standards. You have a code of standards that you adhere to, and people will come to you, and the market that you're looking for will eventually come to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, in terms of exporting products, do you think that for one to be one of the biggest, you have to reach that level of exporting your product?
Export does come with a lot of incentives. One, obviously, is the country earns forex. Number two, you can also charge a premium, because I will speak about rabbit farming because that's what I understand.
Yes.
The local appreciation for rabbit meat is still not there.
Yeah.
So you do not get the correct price for it. For example, we are trying to push a price of $10 per kg for rabbit meat, which is selling for between $14 and $18 in foreign countries.
Oh.
Yeah, so we are trying to push 10, but currently our wholesale price for rabbit meat is at $7.80, and our retail price is at $8.90 per kg. So the target price for wholesale is $10. So it will take a number of years and consumer education for people to fully appreciate the value of rabbit meat. You see, the biggest challenge that I found with chicken farming is that I was contesting with my supplier. Okay, he supplies me the egg, he supplies me the chick, he supplies me the feed,
Yeah.
and then competes with me on the market, which I found to be very improper business practice, for lack of a better word.
Okay.
So I didn't want to replicate that in rabbit farming, whereby I am producing rabbits at a large scale,
Yes.
and then I am also supplying these cages which we manufacture here at the White
You
Meat
make them
Company.
here?
Yes, I'll show you. We actually manufacture these. We'll go around and show you where we are making these cages. We have a factory in the industrial site where we make the mesh wire for the cage construction, and then we bring those components here for final assembly. But for now, I'll be able to show you the assembly line.
Yes.
But I supply the cages. We supply them this premium breeding stock, like these are meat rabbits, but we have got breeders all over here, and in the cages at the back there, where we are supplying premium breeding stock in the. We only specialize in New Zealand white pure breeds.
Why?
And Californian whites. It's because of the attributes of the animals themselves. They are the best meat rabbits for the conditions in our country. They grow fast, and they have a high meat to bone ratio, and they have a high resistance to disease. They are very good mothers. They look after their young with almost 100% retention on production, which speaks to the farmer, because he makes money from the produce from his breeding stock. So if he's got prime breeding stock, then he's assured of a high return on from those breeders. So we focus on the New Zealand white and its close cousin, the Californian whites.
Okay.
Although I must hasten to say that the quality of Californian whites in Zimbabwe is still a little bit questionable. We are working on that in the back end, whereby we are improving the pedigree stock of the Californians. But our New Zealand whites, we can safely say those are 100% pure breeds.
It's easy to understand, because other people, they would be afraid to start rabbit farming or any type of farming. But you are there to connect them with the right people and even to teach them everything.
Yes.
So my question, going back to my question, who are farmers? Like, where are these people coming from?
Okay, that's a very good question. The short answer would be that 60% of our farmers are Zimbabweans in the diaspora that are looking, that are looking to come back home and are looking for businesses and projects to do when they arrive, and they are already setting them up whilst they are there, so that by the time they get here, they already have a vibrant operation in place. And then the other 40% are local people here in Zimbabwe, a lot of them who are departing from chicken farming and opting to go into rabbit farming because of its high profitability. To give perspective to that statement, I know for a fact that a chicken farmer is earning between $1 to $1.50 per bird in terms of profit.
Yes.
A rabbit farmer, in comparison, is earning between $5 and $7 for farming rabbits. So we justify these numbers. You see, it's easy to stand in front of you here, in front of the camera, Kelvin, and claim things. But we do articulate all this detail during our master classes. We've come up with master classes because we realize that a lot of failures in the farming space is because people are doing things they don't understand. There's so much that comes out of this rabbit farming. It's not just about the meat. The meat is the primary product, isn't it? But you get a lot more value from things like this manure. You know, the byproducts like this is compost, prime compost, prime fertilizer, this dropping from a rabbit, as well as the urine that we collect in the urine buckets. Like here, we now sell rabbit, we now produce rabbit samosas. Yes, and we are doing rabbit pies, and we are doing for distribution, and we are doing all sorts of things, rabbit biltong. These are byproducts that we then teach people how to get into and benefit from. It tells me that rabbit farming is a very, very vibrant industry internationally. And as Zimbabwe, we need to grab this opportunity whilst it is still there. Before someone in Zambia wakes up and says, I want to do what Bright is doing in Zimbabwe, and then they start doing it in Zambia or in South Africa, or in Nigeria, and then we lose this opportunity. I'm saying to government. I'm saying to my compatriots, Zimbabweans, I'm a patriot. I'm saying let's get together. Let's all farm rabbits. We will train you. We will provide the correct equipment so that we are doing what is called sound caniculture practice, which will enable us to get even things like GAP certification, so that when the time comes for us to export the rabbits, we are not found wanting in terms of our production systems. So let's get into the correct farming practice. If anyone is talking export now, it's an absolute lie. I'm sorry to use that word, but the truth of the matter is we currently do not have the capacity to supply rabbits outside the country. We can't even meet the demand of our local restaurants here. Satisfy home first. So we need to see rabbit meat in all the restaurants. And when it's now full everywhere, then we can start talking of taking it outside the country. At this point in time, there is no one with the capacity to service an export contract.
How many should I start with?
How many should you start with? Interestingly, our cage systems are designed to answer that very question. They are in 3 tiers, as you can see. And this is a breeder's cage, this is a winner's cage. So they go in pairs.
They go in pairs.
They go in pairs. This is a breeder's cage. Typically what you would have is a male in one compartment and 11 females in this cage unit. 1 male and 11 females. That is a production unit. Okay? Of course, these cage systems are very old. These are over 12 years before we had developed the new systems that we now have. So what you're looking at is a legacy rabbitry equipment, okay? But they do the job. But 1 male and 11 females. That's your production center. So if one wants to start, I would say, depending on your financial capacity or capability, you can start with this 1 unit. But this unit, whatever is produced from here, because 1 female of the breeding stock we have has the capacity to give you an average of 8 offspring at any breeding cycle, and we have 6 cycles a year. We recommend 6 times a year. That's 6 breeding cycles a year. The rabbits are capable of doing 8 cycles a year, but we recommend 6 cycles because we like to rest our rabbits. You know, we want to be kind to them also because they are giving us money. So we do 6 times a year, and each time it gives birth, it gives you an average of 8 kids. Okay? So 8 kids times the 11 females in this breeder's cage will fill up this winner's cage, which is capable of housing up to 90 winners, up to market size.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. I understand. What are the challenges that you have faced doing this?
The early days were another reason why we came up with the master classes. The early days were painful because of the deaths that you'd experience. If you don't look after the rabbits properly, if you don't give them the correct accommodation, if you don't give them the correct feed regime, you end up losing rabbits to various diseases like blot, which is one of the most common killers in rabbit farms, and coccidiosis, which is basically diarrhea in rabbits. And we were sweeping up rabbits off the floor in the early days when we're still learning the trade. But now you don't have to go through that pain because we train you properly on how to avoid those pitfalls.
You've heard it for yourself, guys. Come to Rabbit War and have an experience of a lifetime. You come and eat here. As of now, it's goodbye.